Ever get this feeling like you're just scratching the surface of a story?
Mm,
We're diving deep into a place that practically breathes history. Alcatraz Island.
a great choice. Lots to uncover there.
You probably know it as the infamous prison, but trust me, there's way more to uncover here.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about a journey that spans centuries and paints a picture you won't find in the tourist traps.
Right, right. Before The Rock became synonymous with maximum security prisons, it was a beacon, if you will,
A beacon.
for ships navigating the often treacherous waters of the San Francisco Bay.
Okay, I can see a lighthouse being important, sure, but what's the big deal?
Think about it. It's the mid-1800s. The gold rush is in full swing.
Right, right.
San Francisco is exploding with people and possibilities. Every ship arriving safely meant more fortune seekers, more supplies, more fuel for the city's booming growth. That lighthouse wasn't just a light.
What was it then?
It was a symbol of hope and prosperity.
Wow, never thought about it like that. But then things took a bit of a dark turn, right?
Definitely.
Went from guiding ships to, well, holding some of the most notorious criminals in America.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting, you see. Alcatraz was never intended to house huge numbers of prisoners.
Oh, really?
In fact, it was surprisingly small, with a capacity of just 450 inmates.
450, I would guess thousands, given its reputation.
That's the thing. Alcatraz wasn't about mass incarceration. It was about strategic control. They reserved it for the worst of the worst, the most difficult and dangerous criminals in the entire prison system.
So basically, if you ended up on Alcatraz, you were considered, what, the ultimate bad boy?
In a way, yes, but it would be on punishment. This approach, housing the most difficult inmates in a highly secure, inescapable prison, it sent a chilling message to every other prisoner in the country.
Oh, wow.
It was a psychological tactic, a way to maintain order through the sheer threat of Alcatraz.
That's wild. So they basically weaponized the very idea of Alcatraz.
Precisely.
Okay, but even with all that, you can't tell me nobody ever tried to escape.
Oh, they tried.
Hollywood has definitely made those stories legendary.
You're absolutely right. The allure of escape was this constant shadow over Alcatraz. According to our source, there were a staggering 14 separate escape attempts.
14. That's a lot. How many people are we talking about actually trying to make a run for it?
A total of 36 inmates were involved in those attempts
Wow.
and those escapes. They weren't all meticulously planned Hollywood productions. Some were more, shall we say, impulsive.
Okay, impulsive how? Did they just make a break for the shore during like their daily exercise or something?
Some did try their luck swimming for it, yeah. But the waters surrounding Alcatraz are brutally unforgiving. We're talking frigid temperatures that could sap your body heat in minutes, coupled with treacherous, unpredictable currents. The article doesn't sugarcoat it. Those waters claim the lives of several escapees.
Suddenly, that image of Clint Eastwood paddling to freedom seems a lot less realistic and a lot less fun.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a prime example of Hollywood taking liberties. Don't get me wrong, Escape from Alcatraz is a classic film, but it shouldn't be mistaken for a documentary.
No, definitely not. So no word on anyone actually succeeding then. What about those stories of guys just disappearing, never to be seen again?
The fates of a few remain shrouded in mystery, yeah. Whether they drowned, were swept away by those unforgiving currents, or somehow managed to escape and disappear. We simply don't know for sure.
Man, talk about adding to the intrigue of the place. But those escape attempts, successful or not, they weren't the only violence Alcatraz saw. The article mentions something called the Battle of Alcatraz.
Right, this wasn't just a prison break. It was a full-blown, albeit short-lived, uprising. For 2 long days, inmates and guards clashed in this desperate and brutal struggle.
Wow, what sparked it? What happened?
While the finer details aren't in our source, the incident underscores a crucial point. Alcatraz wasn't just about cold stone and steel bars.
What else?
It was a pressure cooker of human emotions. The inmates, stripped of their freedom and constantly under surveillance, faced unimaginable despair.
And the guards, stationed on this isolated island, tasked with containing some of the most dangerous criminals.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the toll that took on them.
Exactly. The Battle of Alcatraz, while tragic, reminds us that this wasn't a movie set. It was a real place with real people, all grappling with the consequences of the choices that led them there.
It's almost hard to picture it now, you know. Alcatraz as a prison. It closed its doors for good.
Yeah.
And now It's become a tourist destination.
It has.
Kind of a weird transition, don't you think?
It's fascinating, isn't it? This place with this dark and layered past is now a place people choose to visit, to explore.
Right.
It speaks to our curiosity, I think,
Correct.
our desire to engage with history in a tangible way.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of exploring, this travel blog goes into some of the different ways you can, experience Alcatraz today. I was especially drawn to the early morning tour. Imagine, you get the island almost to yourself before the crowds arrive.
There's a certain stillness to Alcatraz in the early hours, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah?
The fog still clinging to the island, the city slowly waking up across the bay.
Yeah.
It's a chance to connect with the atmosphere, to feel the weight of history in a more profound way.
Plus, I bet you'd get some amazing photos without having to Photoshop out 100 other tourists.
Right.
But then again, the article also mentions a sunset cruise that sounds equally incredible, just in a totally different way.
Picture this. The sun dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows across the island. The sky ablaze with color.
Wow.
It's almost as if the changing light softens the edges of Alcatraz's harshness, while simultaneously amplifying its mystique. It's a completely different perspective than what you experience during the day.
Right. It goes from stark and imposing to almost hauntingly beautiful. You definitely give me some things to think about. So from guiding ships as a lighthouse to housing some of America's most infamous criminals to becoming this tourist hotspot, it's clear that Alcatraz has lived 1,000 lives. And honestly, I'm kind of hooked.
What stands out to you the most?
Honestly. Learning about it as a tool of psychological control, that really got me. It wasn't just a prison, it was a message. It makes you think about the power of perception, how a place can hold so many different meanings.
It certainly does. And who knows what stories Alcatraz will tell in the future. One thing's for sure, its story, like all history, continues to unfold.
Well said.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, there's always more beneath the surface.